Greetings.
Greetings, friends. As someone who found a way to turn their PlayStation iToy into a functional webcam for the purpose of talking to strangers on the internet at 14 years old, I had to learn about the internet at the same pace the internet was learning itself. However, this video is not just about my experience on the internet. It's no coincidence that I'm making this video the day after I heard some pretty crummy stuff about one of my favorite YouTubers. Huh? Wait, what? That's not a thing anymore? So what did he do? Oh. Well, that's still pretty lame behavior. So Twitter just took misinformation and ran with it? Fantastic. Well, I already wrote several pages in my first spark of inspiration in weeks, so I'm just gonna move right along.
Worldwide what?
Web. You know, like cyberspace.
Earlier, I said something poetic about the internet learning about itself. I was not inferring that it is a sentient being a la Ultron, though we are probably a lot closer to that reality than I care to think about right now. What I meant by the internet learning about itself was every human being that contributed their content to the web was learning how to share their art, their personalities, and maybe even their whole lives with the world. Plain old strangers from all over the world could get to know each other, presenting themselves as merely a fraction of who they actually are. Then a few of these plain old strangers proved to be really funny, charismatic, artistically motivated. I didn't want to say gifted because most art simply comes from time and practice. And before they knew it, they garnered fans and non-fans. It was the dawning of internet fame and celebrity status. This isn't a history lesson about the internet, so I'm going to skip past the Newgrounds creators moving to YouTube and the general explosion of YouTube in general. All you need to know is that there are innumerable YouTube channels that have fans, and a lot of channels have a lot of fans. But what's in a fan?
Tell them how I helped you save Retroville!
I'm sorry, miss. Do I know you?
People subscribe to YouTube channels because there is something desirable about their content, be it humor, gossip, physical attraction, disturbing intrigue, or just mutual interests. And time, in addition to exposure to desirable content, makes a fan. I am a fan of things that make me feel happy, things that induce the release of that good brain juice in my brain. Music, laughter, friendship. It's that last one that I'm putting a magnifying glass to today. At this point, I want to make it explicitly clear that I do not consider myself even a novice in psychology. Moving forward, I am coming from a place of personal familiarity and what I have observed in groups of fans, or fandoms, either in online discourse or in real-life events. Very simplified, friendship is spending time getting to know another person and exploring mutual interests. This is why it's so easy to become a fan of something or someone. Mutual interests and/or desirable content plus time. The familiarity grows as one spends so much time consuming another person's content, fueled by relatability. Like food, it fuels the brain, affects one's mood, and has the potential to energize or motivate. It's personal. I have a history of losing track of what kind of attachment I have to internet celebrities. Somehow I recognize them as an average person and a VIP at the same time. This is where I have forgotten the other key ingredient in a friendship, that it has to be mutual. When I'm watching my favorite YouTube channels, I can hear multiple people laughing and relating with each other, talking about their life and their struggles, and I start to feel like I'm sitting on the couch with them. Maybe other people also relate to what the hosts are venting about. Maybe they start to feel understood. Maybe they don't feel so alone. And a lot of the channels I'm thinking about right now have several hour-long compilation videos that a lot of people use as background noise. And some people even fall asleep to that background noise. Sometimes. And we keep watching videos and following similar channels. And we buy tickets to see their shows. And we pay them to make personalized videos that address us directly. And we wish these famous internet strangers knew what they mean to us. Strangers that feel like friends, but without mutual awareness, they aren't friends. But then, maybe they could be.
Groupies sleep with rock stars because they want to be near someone famous. We're here because of the music. We are Band-Aids.
Then one day you Google one of your favorite YouTubers and lo and behold, They have an Instagram and or Twitter. And dear God, their DMs are open. Suddenly you have a chance at getting the attention of someone you idolize and admire. Suddenly the concept of a mutual friendship with this person seems attainable. And for a lot of people, it's easy to get lost in that feeling. I have, but we'll get to that in a minute. It's so much easier to see celebrities' day-to-day lives, or how they pose them to be on social media. Sometimes they ask questions for their fan base to answer and share their thoughts. So we comment on their posts and silently wish to receive direct attention for our participation. Somehow we want to be the friend of this average person and this giant charismatic personality at the same time, as though it's the same person. So many stories that come out about celebrities abusing their status to sleep with fans unfortunately start this way, and some would argue that that alone is abuse. I'm not just talking about internet personalities either. Talk of grooming and physical, emotional, and sexual abuse tied to the abuse of a power dynamic has been disgustingly common among those with even just a smidgen of fame since fame began. Sometimes the celebrity seeks it out, and sometimes the fans just line up in their inbox because they lack the forethought or emotional maturity to consider where that power dynamic can lead. This does not mean that a fan who wants to be close to a famous person and that famous person choosing to abuse them was asking for it. There will be no victim blaming in this house. The only thing that fan would be guilty of is thinking they were on equal grounds of communication to begin with. Whatever harm befalls them has never been, nor will ever be, something to be dismissed as the fan's fault. On the other side of that coin, however, there are the fanatics who truly lose themselves in their concept of real friendships and personal connections. They learn as much as they can to get physically close to the celebrity, and whether it is intentional or not, it is due to the fans' lack of inhibition. Important note, there is discourse about neurodivergence being a factor in cases like these, but I will not make a claim on that as I have no place in any medical field. All this being said, there are far more individuals with fan bases who enjoy building platonic relationships with their fans than there are of those with selfish intentions. Most people who are at all considered famous struggle to comprehend their status as their fan bases grow, and are overwhelmed by all of their expectations. The majority of creators initially started sharing content because it was something that made them happy or feel accomplished. Bro, creators get death threats for straying from their perceived path of creation because some fans feel entitled to the content they expect in a timely manner from them. Social media makes it that much easier for fans to get closer to their idols, for better or for worse. And it is the fans' responsibility to keep themselves in check with what they expect from a respectful relationship between them and their favorite content creators. Which leads me to my learning experience that, while I am not ashamed of it, it definitely called for self-evaluation and a reality check. Real talk, I just reread the exchange from After the Fact for the first time in a couple years, and it's definitely a stomach sinker. But I'm gonna power through this because I want to give a perspective that I haven't seen or heard outside of my own experience.
You know, over and over again I say, we don't make mistakes, we have happy accidents. So today, let's have a happy accident and see what we can make out of it.
A few years ago, I followed a popular YouTube personality on Twitter, and to my surprise, they followed me back. He was a little older than me, but we were both of legal drinking age. We would chat back and forth a few times, sometimes just chatting, other times I would be obnoxiously flirty. One night I was in town to see a show, and he actually agreed to get drinks with me after I was done. He'd had a really busy day, and we met at a really cool bar around 10:30 p.m. Nervous doesn't even cover how jittery I was. I was so nervous, in fact, that I made an incredibly tasteless and offensive joke to break the ice. I guess I wanted to seem edgy and funny. It was just an awful way to start. As we sat and had our drinks, I thought I was playing it cool, prodding him about his day and using random bits of information I'd learned from him from his past tweets to start conversation. You know, not playing it cool. At that time, he just wasn't present and seemed like he would rather be anywhere else. So I figured I should stop wasting both of our time, swig the rest of my drink, and take his lead to wrap it up. We left the bar walking in opposite directions, and that was it. All I could think was, what a f***ing asshole. If you're so tired from your day, why did you even agree to meet? Did he think he was doing me a favor? Ugh, that was the worst. Never did I consider how he felt, or that maybe I was the problem. A week or so later, I had the gall to confront him about it, and this will be the only screenshot that I share. I've been debating even mentioning anything, but if redacted, I might as well mention last Tuesday. I was super excited to have the chance to meet you, and I walked away from that bar feeling super shitty about myself. I don't know if you felt like you were doing me a favor by walking down there to meet, but I felt like you couldn't even pretend to care. I understand being tired as fuck, but rain checking or making up for it later is how it's usually dealt with. Didn't hear from you again afterwards, so I'm sure I'm just another fan in your world of beautiful people, but I hope you reflect on how you can make people feel. And before I get to his response, the most revealing bit of information there was, I walked away from that bar feeling super shitty about myself. Sweetie, that sounds like a you problem. Back then, I was an insecure person in general, but I had also seen photos he would post with these other people that were like capital H hot. And I tried to make him feel guilty about my insecurities. I'm sure I'm just another fan in your world of beautiful people. Why was I like this? His response put me in my place, and not even in a rude way, just brutally honest. He told me that I was intense and that I had made him very nervous. It was too much for him to want to confront me about at the time because, one, it was pretty late for a weeknight, but more importantly, two, an Instagram and YouTube celebrity had been murdered by a fan pretty recently at that point. It kills me to think that I was that abrasive, and it was even harder for me to understand at the time because I was still of the mind that he was just a jerk. No accountability on my part. One last thing he said, though, ties into the rest of this video, and it's what hit the hardest. I don't owe you a good time, I don't owe you a romantic evening out, and I certainly do not owe you what you've built up in your head. And my proud ass came back at him like, psh, I didn't build anything in my head, I just wanted to talk to a cool new person. At the end of the day, he came out to get a drink with me because he knew how excited I was to meet him, which he did not have to do. I'm sure he figured it could have been a nice time too, like I do not think there was any kind of pity involved, despite what my past self insisted was the case. He didn't owe me anything, and he certainly did not owe me what I built up in my head. Though I know I wasn't expecting much, I still had expectations, and that was not fair. It's hella embarrassing, and I'll admit if I ever had the chance to talk to him again, I would sincerely apologize. Hindsight's 20/20, and since I can't redo the past, I just gotta focus from here onwards. All I can do now is admit fault, self-evaluate, and be better. And though I still catch myself slipping at times, at least I'm catching myself. The thoughtless Olivia felt too comfortable and too familiar with people who I perceived to be my friends, even with little to no establishment of a friendship to base my actions on. The Better Olivia takes a beat to try to be as objective as possible before potentially overstepping and repeating past mistakes. Why was there a time when I thought it was perfectly okay to message a famous person about how I had a dream about them? What are they supposed to do with that information? Okay, let's wrap this up.
Learn something from this. When you go to bed at night, you lay there and you take responsibility for yourself, because nobody's gonna take responsibility for you.
I've been thinking about making this video for a few weeks now, actually. And after a year of everyone staying indoors and engaging more with internet media, I figure it's as good a time as any to say, be responsible and respectful in how you communicate. Check for their intentions, and check yourself for expectations. And that goes for both creators and fans. Look both ways before you cross that line. And if they proceed to hurt you despite your honesty and trust, it's not your fault, and I hope you're okay. There is no doubt that the internet has made relationships of any kind so much more complex. Constant contact is expected, and yet communication doesn't have to be instantaneous, as we can take our time putting more thoughts into consideration when expressing ourselves. Though a lot of people choose to post without thinking anyway, which is weird. Every thought that goes into how one's character comes across on the internet is just one aspect of internet-etiquette. And yes, I did just make that up, and if it's already been done, I don't care! Anyone who has ever made a new friend online knows that it's just as exciting as making a new friend in person. It's easy to lose yourself in that excitement, especially if the other person has any level of fame in your eyes. Examine their internet etiquette, and remember, you never know a whole person only from what they choose to share.
But Olivia, at the beginning of the video, you said,
"Greetings, friends." Fair. I love making friends, and I want everyone to feel welcome here. But not everyone that sees this is already my friend. So I'll be changing my greetings moving forward so that I can include everyone. Because respecting personal boundaries is good internet etiquette, and absolutely necessary. Believe me when I say I did not expect to write as much on this topic as I did, but it felt like a massive journal entry, so I guess I needed to get all that out. Love yourself and keep an eye on your friends. Speaking of friends, my very first patron and I go all the way back to middle school, and we hated each other. No, but seriously, Argishti, I am able to grow in my field because of contributions from viewers like you. Thank you. If you're new to my channel, greetings and welcome. Check out my other videos if my voice doesn't cause you too much pain. Check the description of this video for my streaming information, and other important links, including my Patreon, are down there as well. If you in fact quite like my voice, please consider becoming a patron for as little as $2 a month. That way you'll gain access to exclusive content, like outtakes, such as this. Oh, my knees! Ooh. Ooh. Getting too old for this shit. Thank you very much for your time, and I will catch you on the flip side. Also, if you're a minor, stop talking to strangers on the internet. Go do anything else. If a man ever tells you how mature you are for your age, or they ask you to keep a secret or not tell your parents something, those are examples of grooming, and I want you to give me that man's info so I can deal with them personally, okay? Excellent. Now go play Minecraft on a closed server. Be safe.